Very warm welcome to the policy dialogue and report launch for Viksit Bharat 2047, Unlocking Organic Waste Circularity Potential, hosted by the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. As you settle in, a quick reminder for those who haven't registered yet, please step outside to the reception desk to complete your registration. Also, please do drop your visiting cards at the counter. It will help us stay connected after today's dialogue. Tea and coffee are being served outside the ballroom. Please help yourself and take this opportunity to network and interact with the fellow delegates. On each table, you'll find the QR codes providing quick access to today's event agenda. In addition, QR codes linking to CW's latest report and research on clean air are displayed at the registration desk. As you mingle, we invite you to take a moment to browse the What on Earth cartoon displays by CW in the hall behind you. These creative pieces are a fun, thought-provoking way to engage with today's environmental challenges, and they make for wonderful conversation starters. Thank you. Potential hosted by the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. We'll begin our formal session in about 5 minutes. I request everyone to kindly take your seats so that we begin on time. Thank you. Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends. On the behalf of Council on Energy, Environment and Water, a very warm welcome to each one of you to today's policy dialogue, for report launch and stakeholders consultation on Viksit Bharat 2047, Unlocking Organic Waste Circularity Potential. I am Srishti Mishra, Research Analyst with the Clean Air team at the Council. Having been part of the research team behind this report, it is an absolute privilege to welcome you all here today. This report is the culmination of more than a year of rigorous research, modeling, and stakeholder consultations. We are incredibly grateful to see this work come to completion, and we look forward to these insights and discussion that will shape today's dialogue. Today, we gather in the spirit of purpose, collaboration, and possibility. India stands at a decisive inflection point. By 2047, our aspiration is to become a Viksit Bharat, a developed, prosperous, and self-reliant nation. Central to that vision is how we govern our cities, manage our resources, and transform what we discard into what we can reuse. Organic waste, including food waste, horticulture waste, make up nearly half of the municipal solid waste generated in our cities. It represents an enormous yet often overlooked resource. The question before us today is not just whether we can harness it, but how quickly and equitably we can do so. Today's event brings together policymakers, municipal leaders, innovators, researchers, and practitioners. Through this policy dialogue, report launch, and stakeholder consultation, we aim to chart a clear pathway from potential to reality. We will begin with a welcome address, followed by an insightful special address from distinguished leaders in the waste governance and international climate cooperation. Next, a presentation of key findings from our new report will set the analytical context. This will be followed by the panel discussion and then a report launch, the culmination of our rigorous institutional research. Ladies and gentlemen, this dialogue is a vital step towards action, and we are delighted to have your expertise in the room today. Let us begin. To formally open today's proceedings and set the context of our discussion, I have an honor of inviting Ms. Pratna Bora, Fellow at the Council on Energy, Environment and Water.
Thank you, Srishti. Good morning. On behalf of the Council on Energy, Environment and Water, I welcome you to this conversation and dialogue on unlocking organic waste circularity potential. Thank you for being here today. Your presence here is very significant. It is significant because it is not about discussing waste in the context of sanitation only, but it is because we want to take the waste conversation to integrating it with the air we breathe, the climate work that we are doing, and also unlocking the investment potential in terms of Viksit Bharat. I am grateful for all the participants here because I think this is very, very important in terms of making the connection as far as waste management is concerned and how waste addresses the issue of air pollution. Our cities today are complex, but they are also engines of growth. They are where the opportunity lies, they are where the jobs lies. But it is also an area where we see clogged drains, mounting landfills, and haze that prevents us from breathing clean air, which is why waste and addressing the issue of waste becomes very important. Nature has created a process where organic waste can be used in a manner where it provides nutrition to the soil and does not or cannot be considered as waste. Yet, we have managed to make organic waste into a process or into an element which pollutes the soil and which also creates more bad than the good it is supposed to create. Considering this, everything that we throw away today needs to be processed, and this whole process itself has become an economic issue. The conversation today will look at 4 areas. We are going to look at the potential that is there in terms of organic waste management. The team has compiled a report which looks at circularity and projections in terms of the jobs that will be created, the investment potential, and the emissions reduction that we can expect in terms of pathways by 2047. And we will be discussing how we take these pathways to implementation processes. We have a panel discussion where we will have experts who have been working in the sector who will describe what they have done. We will also have a closed-door convening on bulk waste generators, which form the element of majorly of organic waste. And of course, we will define the role of the stakeholders present here in terms of how we can contribute to circularity. Before I welcome you all again and also hand over the stage to the speakers, I would also like to mention here that the circularity and waste management work that we are doing at the Council falls under the umbrella of the clean air work. And this is a very unique and interesting approach and very, very national approach, because if we look at it in the global context, waste management and air pollution are considered under 2 different verticals. So here in India, and especially at the Council, we are looking at how waste management and reducing waste, especially in the context of circularity, where we look at waste as a resource, can stop the concept of bad waste at the source and also look at ways in which we can contribute to better and clean air. I welcome you once again and thank you for being here. And I hope that the discussions are useful and we are able to benefit in terms of designing implementation pathways towards the circularity and Viksit Bharat 2047. I would like to mention here that the Honorable Minister for Environment and Forests was supposed to join us here today, but he has sent his regret because there is an important meeting which has been called, and they are also launching a new project. We have also had a regret from the municipal commissioner who was supposed to join us. But yet we have senior representatives of the commission, and I am looking forward to hearing from them. Thank you.
Decisive framing. Your reminder that managing organic waste is a direct and practical way to improve our city's air quality gives us clear focus of today. You have set the stage beautifully for everything that follows today. Moving forward with our agenda, it is now my honor to invite our special guests for the morning session. a movement we have greatly anticipated. When we speak of transforming organic waste management in India's cities, the operational reality always begins at the municipal level. It is my great honor to invite on the stage the leader driving these efforts in our national capital, Shri P.C. Meena, Sir, Engineer-in-Chief, Municipal Corporation of Delhi. Sir is a senior civil engineer who serves as an engineer-in-chief in Municipal Corporation. He has been actively overseeing major urban infrastructure and waste management projects for the corporation. Sir, we are deeply honored by your presence today. May I request you to kindly deliver your keynote address. Please put a round of applause.
Morning to everyone. I would like to thank the Council on Energy, Environment and Water for organizing this important dialogue on organic waste circularity and for bringing together key stakeholders to deliberate one of the most critical urban challenges today we are facing. As India moves towards the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, sustainable urbanization and scientific waste management will play a defining role in shaping resilient, clean and climatic smart cities. Delhi being the national capital, I would like to bring 2-3 key features about Delhi. Delhi is holding the population of around 2.5 million crores and handling about more than 15,000 metric ton of solid waste on daily basis. Although area is very limited for the Delhi, it's around 1400 square kilometer, but despite all these constraints, we are doing our best efforts to make the life of the citizen of Delhi more comfortable. The challenges, however, we face are tremendous. In addition to, they bring the opportunity to deliver in a more scientific and more planned manner. Organic waste is no longer viewed merely as a disposal problem, but it is a valuable resource capable of generating compost, clean energy, bio-CNG, compressed biogas and lively opportunity for the sectors who are working day and night in for making all these facilities on day-to-day operation. Today, Delhi has established an extensive waste processing ecosystem comprising waste to energy facility, material recovery facilities, decentralized composting units, bio-CNG, bio-CBG, all these things. We are working day and night to reduce the wet waste generated on daily basis so that it's all is being handled and processed in a more scientific manner and more eco-friendly manner. Similarly, Delhi is generating about 1500 metric ton of cattle dung on daily basis. We have around 1.23 lakhs of animals spread all over the Delhi. So managing and handling such a huge quantity on day-to-day basis is a very gigantic task, and we have planned to generate processing facility to handle all the waste, because at present all these cattle dung waste is going into the Yamuna river, which is polluting it to a great extent. So we have planned 3-4 locations, plants for this facility. Already one facility is in operational at Nagli Sakravati, and by 31st July we are going to make operationalize 2 additional facility at Goila Dairy and Ghoga Dairy. So by end of July we can say that we will be in a position to process around 600 metric ton of cattle dung waste on daily basis. In addition to that, we have also planned for future expansions, one at Gazipur with capacity of 350 metric tons, and similarly for other locations we are identifying and planning in advance so that by next year end we will be in a position to manage, handle and process on daily basis 1500 metric ton of cattle dung waste that is generated at present. Further, MCD is facilitating a partnership with National Dairy Development Board to set up a biogas plant who will handle, which will handle around 125 metric ton of cattle dung in Bhalswa dairy and its nearby periphery. So ultimately we are working vigorously day and night to make the Yamuna clean, so that all the cattle dung liquid waste that is presently going into the Yamuna river, that is controlled and regulated in an efficient manner. With this initiative, Delhi is expected to establish 5 biogas facility with a cumulative processing facility of around 1125 ton per day by December 2027. However, we will working day and night to ensure that we are in a position to set up 1500 metric ton of facility once we get the required land from the Delhi Development Authority and other agencies. In addition to dairy waste processing, MCD is also strengthening wet waste to energy infrastructure in partnership with public sector energy companies. A 100 TPD CBG plant is already in operation at Ghoga Dairy with the help of IGL, and it's running. In addition to that, we also intend to set up another plant for methanization bio CBG CNG plant at Gazipur, that will be made operational by the next year end, and that too is also being handled by the IGL. The gas generated through these plants will be supplied to the city through gas distribution network and utilized as a clean transportation fuel, thereby contributing towards reducing in fossil fuel dependency and urban air pollution. Apart from solid waste management rules, 2026 have mandated on-site processing of the wet waste by bulk waste generator. As all we know, more than 60% of waste in the Delhi is generated by bulk waste generator. So we are working day and night to identify and bring all those bulk waste generator into the mainstream and bring through awareness and sensitize them that as per the rules they have to do the wet waste processing in their complex itself, and this will reduce the burden on the landfill and processing facility. MCD is also assisting them, bulk waste generator, to process the dry waste and get the recyclable sold to the market players available in the Delhi and NCR. The remaining waste MCD will collect from these bulk waste generator and dispose of to the scientific processing facility in the form of the waste to energy plants. We have already at 4 locations. The Municipal Corporation Delhi remains committed to working with all stakeholders in advancing sustainable waste management and circular economy practices for a cleaner, healthier and more resilient Delhi. These initiatives, as already I have explained, will bring transition towards a circular economy model where waste is no longer viewed as a burden but as a valuable resource for generating green energy, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and recovering a reusable nutrients. By scientifically processing organic waste and cattle dung, these efforts also help curb uncontrolled methane emissions arising from open dumping at landfill sites, while contributing to India a vision of sustainable, climate resilient urban development under Viksit Bharat 2047. Now today I can assure on behalf of the Delhi Municipal Corporation of Delhi that we as a team are working wholeheartedly with all stakeholders to ensure that we are able to contribute to the citizen of Delhi a green, clean air so that their life become a quite comfortable. Thanks. Regards to all.
Thank you very much, sir, for that grounding keynote. Your address has truly anchored today's dialogue in operational reality and has given us all a great deal to think about and act on. Moving forward with our agenda, it is now my honor to invite a distinguished international voice to this dialogue. Someone who brings over 3 decades of global experience leading advancements in climate policy, sustainability and environmental governance across continents. Dr. Alexander Fischer is the Director of Indo-German Support Project for Climate Action in India at GIZ. His extensive work includes developing methodologies to measure climate co-benefits from environmental programs, including waste and pollution reduction. We are privileged to have him join us today. Dr. Fisher, may I request that you kindly address the gathering.
Good morning. Thank you so much. First, I wasn't sure whether it's me you're talking about, but sounds good. So what can I bring to you? I'm a little bit of a German perspective, try to inspire you to think about waste as business. You already do that, but I mean, compare it to the German situation, and we're talking about Viksit Bharat. So I did some calculation. I think you in 2047, the aim is, or the approximately aim is $20,000 per capita for India. Is that correct? I don't know who worked on the nitty pathways from you guys on the waste part. I don't know. But anyway, $20,000 per capita. Germany is currently round about at 60,000 per capita, so it's 1/3. Germany has a waste-based market share of 80 billion euro, and with a GDP of 5 trillion. So if you compare that to the Viksit Bharat scenario of 2047, where you have 20,000 per capita in India, 1.5 billion people, you have 30 trillion US dollars, I think, at Viksit Bharat, roughly, which means 6 times the size Germany. And so if you compare that, and if you think about a waste business scenario based on what I'm going to show you in a minute, how it is done in Germany, you would end up with 480 billion euro or plus half a trillion US dollar business case, waste management, waste processing in India, which is a substantial number. How to get there? That's, of course, the $66 million question. And many of you in the room know better than I how to get there, I guess. But how is it done in Germany? And of course, you may think, well, Germany is so different, but there are similarities. How is the waste market developed? You need all the stakeholders. You need the public. You need the government to do a lot of stuff. You need the business to develop the innovative management of waste, to turn it into business. Obviously, that's what business is for. And make a cycle with all of this to come up with a strong business case. And how is it done in Germany? Germany operates one of the world's most advanced waste management system and most expensive ones, but that's a business case we want to focus on, and where we may think about the future to engage and set up our companies and work together how to get there. The circular economy aims to reduce raw material use and increase recycling. The waste management sector generates 80 billion annually in Germany, which is a small country compared to India. More than 280,000 people work directly in the sector. We said earlier 6 times maybe would be at Viksit Bharat, so we're talking about 1.5 million people for India who could work in that sector. Germany generated approximately 330 million tons of waste, and it's going down. This is also interesting because it gets more and more expensive, which is good for business. Construction and demolition waste represent the largest share. Municipality waste accounts for 50 million tons annually, which is also not so much compared to the size of the population. Waste prevention remains a major policy. So this is how the waste develops over the last 25 years in Germany. Just to give you an idea, it's going down, but it takes time, obviously. 25 years is not such a huge decrease, but of course the GDP, and we're going to see it in a minute, goes up. So it's already decoupled because of the strong business case. It's a good news in this, and that's why I want to That's where I want to try to inspire you. So the German GDP in the same period what I just showed you from 2000 to 2023, what we have here went up. It's the blue line. So it's not much. The German GDP increase is incremental compared to the Indian one, but still, of course, from a high level, so it's not little. So 25% is only 1% per year, so much less than in India, but nevertheless. And the waste production, the red line, the waste intensity, and the green line, the absolute numbers are going down. So it started to decouple, and that's the business behind it. So don't think in, oh my God, what it cost. I would like to inspire you to think, wow, that's a great business case. I want to engage. Yeah, maybe this is the raw material in Germany. Not for waste prevention policies. There's a vast amount of laws, but India also has great laws, and I learned that in the 2 years I am in India. There are many, many times, and we heard it just now. You have great laws. We have a good setup in the legal system, in the administrative system. You just have to get there for the implementation, and that's where the business comes in. You know, the business want to make the business case, they understand the laws, they understand, and then help the municipalities and the government to get it done. I mean, the implementation, the law's already there. Germany promotes durable, repairable, and reusable products. That's all business. I mean, it's all behind that, of course, a lot of business cases and specific companies. I'm going to show you a few in a minute. Public awareness campaigns encourage sustainable consumption. We also have that in India. Delhi government just spoke, and they have a lot of campaigns out there, so they're partnering with you if you set up your business. Separate waste collection systems improve recycling quality. You have a system which can, I think, make stronger and make a stronger business case out of it. Also, we live here as a family for 2 years, and I feel there's a lot of more cases to be done, which in a positive way can generate a lot of jobs, business, and bring the society forward. Waste prevention stands at the top of the waste hierarchy in Germany. Recycling and recovering. About 2/3 of municipality waste is recycled. Untreated organic waste has been banned from landfills since 2005. We just heard about it a bit, and we're going to hear more during the day. Modern incineration plants reduce methane emissions. Also, there's a business case. Germany combines recycling. I mean, that's, of course, also kind of unique in Europe with the ETS, but you're also moving into that direction. Germany combines recycling, energy recovery, and safe disposal. Packing waste, overall packing recovery rate is 97%, roundabout in Germany, which is only possible because there's a lot of money to be made. Plastic packaging recovery achieved almost 100%. You can imagine the business are fighting for the plastic, which is good. They're making money with it. Lightweight plastic shopping bags were banned in 2022. This only can be done, of course, if you create the environment for that with the population, and then sometimes maybe you can kick in such an extraordinary measure. Reusable packaging systems are expanding. Organic waste and composting. More than 40 million tons of organic waste were treated in 2022. Organic waste is converted into compost and biogas. Germany operates more than 1,100 composting and digesting plants. Biogas contributes to renewable energy production. Everywhere, business cases. Electronic waste and batteries, over 9 million tons of electronic waste were collected in 2012 and 2022. More than 85% of collected electronic waste is recycled. Battery recycling recovers lithium, cobalt, and other materials, which is very valuable. Germany still needs higher collection rates for electronics. I mean, nudging it there. Of course, you cannot do it overnight. I'm fully clear, but we're talking about 2047. We don't talk about 2026. And then there's you mentioned it, co-benefits, the climate protection. Waste management reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Once the ETS is fully established, maybe this is also one attractive, but this takes time as well. But again, we talk about 2047. Recycling saves energy and primary raw materials. Landfill methane emissions are declined significantly, and the circular economy supports Germany's climate goals. The waste is going down, decoupling I already showed. Packaging recovery rates I showed. Electronic waste recycling I mentioned. Then a couple of examples, who's doing this? And that's the point inspiring you. The number one in Germany is a company called PreZero. and is a leading German environmental service and waste management company founded in 2018, so not so old. This whole waste management is a new business, and also we heard it, I think, earlier today, what CEW is working on, and employs 24,000 people, 3.1 billion. What I want to say here, and this of course not only for Germany, but all over Europe, team up with those guys and partner, make JVs, and think about how this can be done in India, and of course creating the good business case. Another one is Remondis. It's a global waste management, maybe easier to team up with. Recycling powerhouse, 30,000 people working there in 13 countries, 8 billion euro turnover, and so on. I think I keep it like this. What I'm saying is, with the new FTA coming in, I think there's plenty of opportunity to team up with companies from Europe and thinking how the business case can be done. We heard that the government stands ready to create the environment, and already does it, create the environment, and you can take them on board. You need the population on board. But the conclusion is that the waste management system and recycling performance creates a business environment until 2047, where a lot of jobs I foresee for India to come in. That's back to you. I hope I could inspire you a bit, and yeah, that's my input. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher, for your insightful address and a data-rich presentation. We are grateful for your presence here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to a pivotal segment of this morning's proceedings, the presentation of the key insights from our upcoming report titled Organic Waste, Circular Economy for Viksit Bharat. Without taking up any more of your time, so that we have maximum opportunity to delve directly into the finding of this study, I am pleased to welcome Ms. Priyanka Singh on the stage. She is leading our research on clean air, waste management and circular economy frameworks. Priyanka, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So thank you, Meena sir and Alex and Pratna for setting the context for us. So as Srishti mentioned in the very beginning, that the agenda of today's event also includes launching of a report that is hard work of our team for last one and a half year. So I take this privilege of presenting to you the findings from the report. So in this report, we basically try and figure out how a circular economy of organic waste can lead to Viksit Bharat. So, okay, this is with me. Right. So before we delve deeper into the report insights, I would like to take this opportunity to basically introduce those who don't know much about CEW. So a little about the organization. So Council on Energy, Environment and Water is a policy think tank. We work in multiple areas and we try and impact sustainable development at scale through creating data, doing integrated analysis, and doing a strategic outreach such as this one, reaching out to right stakeholders to take our work for policy decision making. Now, how we categorize our work, on your slide, you see that we have 3 pillars of working, where we have transformations to achieve a certain quality of life through enablers. So, like say for example, in transformations, we have low carbon economy, we have energy transitions, power markets, industrial sustainability, and sustainable livelihoods. So these are the transformations that we want to achieve. And what we want to achieve through this is having cleaner air, we have sustainable water, we have sustainable food systems, and sustainable cooling, and sustainable mobility. And to achieve this quality of life, we have certain enablers called sustainable finance, technology futures, circular economy, and climate resilience and international cooperation. So this is how we have structured the organization. Now, looking at how the organization is otherwise structured, we have almost 400 researchers right now working in these different teams, looking at different aspects of environment. And our work is available in the form of publications and other knowledge products. And so far, we have impacted 400 million plus lives. So we have certain special initiatives also. We have a Green Finance Center, we have Powering Livelihoods, we have Emerging Economies, and we have a dedicated state office in UP. So that's a little about, and we are also available in more than 20 states now. So we are working in more than 20 states. So we operate at all levels of government, including a city level government. In rural areas, we operate at state level as well as at central level. So, so talking about the organic waste. So first we start with the rising waste challenge, which is currently rapidly escalating, and as of today, our country generates more than 170,000 tons of municipal solid waste per day. Now, by 2050, the total waste generation is projected to be more than double of it, reaching almost 435 million tons per year. A major piece of this puzzle is biodegradable waste, which is almost 50% of the total waste which is generated in any part of urban India. Now, unfortunately, if we look at how we are processing and treating this waste, almost 61% of total waste is currently treated. However, the 17% is unaccounted for. So it is not really treated at all, and it is not there in the records itself, which is either you'll see that in the form of open waste burning, or you will see that in drains or river systems. So looking at the environmental impact, now looking at how we are, since this report also talks about certain scenarios, 2047 scenarios. So if we look at the waste emissions related to waste, dumping and burning, it contributes almost 10% of the total PM 2.5 emissions in the Indian major cities. So we have 50 plus million plus cities in India, and the contribution which is coming from open waste burning is almost 10%. So cities such as Delhi can also benefit if we tackle the problem right. Now, looking at the 2050 scenario, as you see, the orange segment, it is going to increase, which means that it is going to become a significant contributor in 2050 itself. So that is why it is mandatory that we tackle this challenge in a proper manner. So this is basically setting the context of how critical this problem is. Now looking at so in this report, what we did is how India, so Alex just now presented about, how Germany has been looking at waste management. Now in this report, when we look at the organic waste management, we looked at how many ministries and what is India doing in terms of, tackling this 50% of the major problem. So we figured that 16 ministries and, line departments such as government bodies, at state level also you have certain agencies working towards it. So there are 16 such ministries, there are 9 of such programs, there are 3 policy guidelines, and there are 7 such schemes which have been introduced in the policy space since the first law came into 2000. So that's how the policy, so we are actually doing very good in terms of how government is thinking about organic waste management. Now moving on, we see that the opportunity, as we have identified in our, so this is how organic waste is currently treated. So in this report, we identified which technologies can be used for managing organic waste. And majorly, if we go by the current numbers, 96% of total organic waste which is processed in India is through composting. However, the other part which is getting pushed from major government schemes is biomethanation. So there is a huge scope for organic waste management to be done properly through biomethanation. And it's not just the proper management, but what comes out of it. So beyond just organic waste management, where you are offloading urban local bodies from their burden of dealing with municipal solid waste, what is it that you are achieving? So we developed certain scenarios which are present here. So you see three I want all of you to follow the infographic a little. So what you see are three scenarios. First one is the business as usual scenario, where we see that if we do things in the current manner, how we are doing it presently, then we have jobs and market, so market of 4.5 billion and an investment of 10 billion. However, it's the other way around, market size of 10 billion and your investment of 4.5 billion. And you can have, currently there are 2.1 million jobs in this current space. However, with the current policies, if we change the scenario a little, so the accelerated policy scenario, which has 50% of composting and 50% of biomethanation with almost 95% of collection, you are able to achieve 2.6 million jobs with a market of almost 50 billion and an investment of 25 billion. While when we move to a more ambitious scenario, where you have 64% of biomethanation versus 36% of composting, you will achieve a market size of more than 60 billion while an investment of more than 30 million. So that's what we have figured. So this is a huge opportunity compared to how we are managing organic waste now. But to achieve this, we also identified that if these are the scenarios, what are the barriers and enablers that we see in achieving this potential? So we categorized all our barriers and enablers into 6 themes. First is the policy and governance, and those who are working in this space might be accustomed with the barriers and enablers, because as part of the process, we also spoke to some of the experts who have been working in the space for quite some time, including government officials. We have categorized our barriers and enablers into 6 themes. So first one, if you see, this is talking about the policy and governance challenges. So we see at urban local body, we have representation from MCD here. So there are delays in approvals, and there is enforcement. There are beautiful laws, but the implementation is stuck at various levels. So there is a little, weaker enforcement. Also, there are laws, but the legal framework, something as simple as bylaws, are not really available in some of the cities. So, and then some of the enablers, those cities which are doing great, how have they done better than the others? So there are performance-linked contracts. So you will only get paid based on your performance. That's how the contract system is going on. And they have standardized the model documents, and they have fronted the accountability to the contractors who are working. Now, when we come to infrastructure and technology, we have found that some of the barriers are technology context mismatch, like where a technology cannot work, or at some scale you are adopting a technology that is not going to be financially sustainable. So that is one thing. Then feedstock variability, everyone know that segregation is not happening, and for organic waste to be treated properly, segregation is mandatory. So there is a variable feedstock, because of which plants don't operate at their capacity, and there are these underperforming plants. Now, if we look at the enablers, we have found that the context-sensitive tech selection is very necessary, and the pre-processing in every plant of processing, pre-processing is quite necessary, because you can expect 90% of the high-quality waste, but 10% of that waste, if it is mixed, then it makes the whole system fragile in terms of operations. Now, R&D support, we have certain technologies which are imported from outside, but we don't have R&D support on how to elevate those technologies in the Indian context. Now, if we look at the financial viability and models, there are limited city level capacity, and there are weak PPP models which are available in the terms of weak agreements and all. There are, the product offtake is not there. And then enablers, there are certain financing mechanisms that we have identified, such as hybrid annuity model, CBG blending obligations from government, central assistance for CBG plans. These are all the enablers which are available. Now, when we look at the human resources and capacity, all the urban local bodies, however informal and formal combination is there, there is always ULB staffing constraints. There is low workforce motivation because it is not a dignified job for most of the workforce which is engaged in waste management. And then there is limited technical expertise even with the people who are working on the plans. So there are certain enablers that recently there have been workforce reforms such as a scheme like Namaste, which are there to benefit workforce. And there is urban local body capacity building through multiple channels such as capacity building commission. There are biogas training centers. Then there is skill talent attraction and then targeted institutional support. So there are dedicated institutes which can support urban local bodies in managing their waste properly. Now, the other two themes we have identified are data and information and awareness behavior. So, and these two are very crucial for people who have been working in this space. So, data and information, it is sometime, with the introduction of ICCCs and all, some cities have been able to, generate some kind of data. But even if you look at, three different, so we identified 16 governmental bodies, but even if you look at their data, it's not standard. One ministry is getting data from somewhere and another department is getting data from somewhere else. So this is insufficient data, inconsistent data. Then there is lack of national standards for reporting this data. There are municipal solid waste management rules, which have one schedule which talks about the annual reporting. But that is only going to CPCB. But certain cities, they're not providing data in that format. Now, there is limited urban local body accountability in terms of data. It's up to them to manage. There is no standard system of how they need to generate this information. And that also percolates down to the contractors which are generating this information. Now, enablers are, now that we have a single window system in terms of GOBARdhan portal, so these are very encouraging systems wherein you can get data in one place. And then there is real-time digital monitoring, MUL framework integration that certain cities have adopted. Now, when we look at the awareness and behavior problems, there is this cultural NIMBY effect, not in my backyard effect, which is leading to mismanagement of organic waste. And there is distrust from poor plant performance. So one day something goes off and then everybody is complaining about the plant not being up to the mark. And then the enablers, so there are many organizations such as ours who are working in motivating community, and so there are grassroots campaigns not just from the government but from others who are motivated individuals. We have multiple agencies here itself in Delhi who are working towards making citizens aware about organic waste management. And then there are incentives and enforcement in form of either penalties or rewards that can be given to urban local bodies. So these are some of the themes that we have identified. So when you read the report, you'll find more about it. Now, when we look at some of the recommendations based on how our findings were, we have certain pathways for transforming this. So we have all in all 7 recommendations. So first and foremost, for all these plants to operate properly, we need to ensure that the quantity and quality of feedstock is as per plant's operation and sustainability. Then we need to build workforce capacities. We have identified certain, training centers which can be, elevated, and then they can be, supported by government agencies to train more and more urban local bodies. And this should not be a one-time job, but it should be supported by having a responsibility matrix on who trains who. Then we have to address the financial viability, institutional capacity, and investors' confidence through innovative financing mechanism and PPP reforms. Then we need to have R&D support for the indigenous technologies. So there are so many startups working towards, if they are coming up with new technologies. So we need to have some space for them to grow so that we are not entirely dependent on outside for the technologies. And it's not just the import of technology, but also the spares and maintenance that comes with it. So multiple times, this is coming from the experience of the experts who have spoken to us, that multiple times we are just waiting for the spares to come for a plant to get back to the operation. So then another recommendation that we have is creating an up-to-date database, for which I think government is actually taking a lot of efforts, so that we can have a digital infrastructure and have a proper monitoring, evaluation, and optimization, because the waste is going to grow and we have to grow accordingly. Now, strengthening the procurement systems, so we have identified certain KPIs through certain cities that can be incorporated in the agreements that we give to the contractors. And then for the last, which makes everything possible, is the strengthening the offtake of the products which come out of it. So there are multiple schemes which are supporting the biogas bit, but other than that, if we were to accurately use the compost, then we have to strengthen our supply chain within the system. So with that, this is a brief about the report. Please do read when this gets released today. And happy to have all of you here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Priyanka. That was a compelling and a data-rich presentation, laying out the scale of opportunity, implementation challenges, and pathways for action, providing a powerful review of the research we will formally launch in the next part. Distinguished guests, we have now arrived at the centerpiece of today's event, the formal launch of the report, Organic Waste, Circular Economy for Viksit Bharat, Jobs, Investment and Emission Pathways to 2047. I now request the following distinguished guests to please join us on stage for the formal launch. Shri P.C. Meena, Municipal Corporation of Delhi, Dr. Gaurav Mishra, Senior Director and Scientist F at MNRE, Dr. Alexander Fischer, Director, Indo-German Climate Support Project, GIZ, Mr. Kevin Houston, Co-founder and Executive Chairman, Carbon Masters Group, Ms. Lise Bruel, Country Director, AFD India, Ms. Pratna Bora, Fellow, CW, and all the authors of the report, Ms. Priyanka Singh, Program Lead, CW, Mr. Adil Khan, Program Associate at the Council, Mr. Rahul Das, Research Analyst at the Council, and myself, Srishti Mishra.
Come, authors. Srishti, come, you the author. I'll go on there. The ladies come.
Thank you so much, everyone. Congratulations to the entire research team and the Clean Air team as well on this milestone. And thank you all for lending your presence and authority to this launch. We will now take a short 15-minute break before we move to the next panel and reconvene at 12:10. Please feel free to freshen up and enjoy tea, coffee and snacks available in the hall. We look forward to resuming the session with you shortly. Thank you. segment of today's program, our panel discussion titled From Potential to Reality. The research presented earlier has charted the pathways. Our panelists today will move beyond the theory to explore the real-world enablers, the systemic barriers, and the concrete policy and financial actions that will determine whether India successfully captured this circular economy opportunity. To unpack everything from upstream supply chains to downstream offtake and from municipal financing to regional air quality enforcement, I am honored to introduce a remarkable group of experts. Dr. Gaurav Mishra, Senior Director and Scientist F at Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, a leading authority on bioenergy, compressed biogas and biomass utilization. Dr. Mishra holds a PhD in biofuels from Kyoto University, Japan. At MNRE, he is instrumental in strengthening India's bioenergy ecosystem, advancing the National Bioenergy Program, and unlocking the potential of organic waste to drive industrial decarbonization and rural livelihoods. Please give a round of applause for our panelists. Ms. Lee's Country Director, AFD India, with over 17 years in international development finance, spanning urban mobility, water, sanitation, and green infrastructure, she has been central to the AFD climate conscious urban investment in India. A trained engineer and a researcher, she leads with both technical depth and strong development leadership. Please have a round of applause. Thank you. Dr. Mr. Kevin Houston, co-founder and executive chairman, Carbon Masters Group, a company pioneering waste to energy and biomethane solutions in India and UK. He launched India's first bottle compressed biomethane brand and brings deep entrepreneurship and technical insights from previous senior roles at IBM, PwC, and P&G. Moderating this session, Ms. Pratna Bora, fellow at the Council. Pratna is a sustainability expert with over 2 decades of experience across climate change and air quality management, having previously served as country director for 2 international non-profits specializing in strategic public and private partnerships. Pratna, panelists, over to you.
Thank you, Shrishti. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think we are going to move now to the part of the discussion actually that I like most, because I have here a panel, a stellar panel of experts who are quite diverse in terms of the discussion that we are going to have. We have a report which gives us pathways in terms of how we are going to unlock the organic waste circularity potential. We have defined some trajectories, but I think what excites me, because I'm more of a practitioner, is the fact that how do we translate the numbers that we have presented into reality and actual implementation program. So I just spoke to the panelists before this, and I said that, we had sent them a set of questions which were very, very technical and theoretical, but I kind of changed it around, and now I am actually going to challenge them by asking them, questions which would be more practical and look at how we can develop an implementation strategy around this report that we have developed. And as an organization, I think, it'll also present some opportunities for us to look at what is the future in terms of taking technical research that the team has invested in to action. So without taking much time, I want to start with Kevin, because I think Kevin has a lot of experience in terms of the actual work around as a service provider. And my first question to you would be, obviously, because you are working with ULBs and you've been working in 3 states, as you said before, while we were having conversation, what are the challenges, because let us start first with the challenges, because our report delves into the barriers and then we also look at the opportunities. So what are the challenges that you actually face, especially in the supply chain, in the process of the work that you're doing?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, how long do we have? I mean, there are a great...
we have an hour for this conversation, and I propose 2 rounds, and then maybe, you know, your comments. So I think you have time. There are 3 of us. So.
Well, there's been a lot of challenges. I guess, first of all, a little about what we do. We take the organic fraction of the municipal solid waste stream, we put that in an anaerobic digester, and we create raw biogas. Then we upgrade it, i.e. we remove a lot of the CO2, the moisture, and the hydrogen sulfide, and end up with what we call biomethane. And biomethane is a very, very versatile molecule. It's got about 95% methane, a small amount of CO2, and a small, very, very small amount of H2S. And that is versatile in the sense we can do what we do with it primarily, is we pack it in particular designed cylinders and cascades, and we ship that to restaurants to displace LPG for commercial cooking. And we've been doing that in southern India. We shipped our first cascade to a restaurant in 2015. So you can imagine, since Mr. Trump thought it would be a good idea to invade Iran, our phones have never stopped ringing. And it's taken us, I joked with my co-founder, that it's taken us nearly 15 years to become an overnight success, because we're one of the few companies in India that can actually come up with a solution for an urgent issue today. But it's been a long story and full of challenges. Now, one of the challenges, I mean, as I said, I spent the first 25 years of my life selling soap and shampoo for Procter & Gamble in many parts of the world. And they're the premier, if you like, fast-moving consumer goods company. So you might imagine that that business is somewhat complex. It is. But it is nowhere near as complex as running a single biomethane plant, for a couple of reasons. One of the big brands P&G has, of course, is Pampers. And in making Pampers, P&G can lay down the specification for all the raw materials in what's called a formula card. If the supplier is only slightly deviates from that formula card, P&G fines him or throws the stuff back at him, and he has to go and redeliver it. You have no such luxury when you're managing the organic fraction of municipal solid waste. You have to take what you are given. It's already mentioned in the report, one of the big issues is source segregation. And we are fortunate because we work with waste management partners who are already providing us with separated organic waste. But even that's a challenge, because the variability in the organic waste can change through the week. And it changes around festival time. The composition of that food waste is different at Diwali than it is pre-Diwali and post-Diwali. So you're constantly challenging with a variable feedstock that you have to do something with. The very mechanics of turning that waste into the 2 end products is very challenging. You've got to be watching the health of an anaerobic digester. That's a biological system. It's not like running some pulp down a line and getting Pampers out of the back end. It's very, very variable. You have to constantly watch at things like the pH, the temperature, all those sorts of variables. So it's a very complex manufacturing process, which makes it a challenge. And then there's the offtake part of it, where you've got to ensure, like, for instance, if Pampers sales, for instance, dropped in a particular market, you can shut the line down, right? You have no such luxury. The minute a biogas plant gets up and running and you're producing biogas, you've got to do something with that gas, and you've got to do something with that digestate slurry. You cannot just stop the entire operation. So there are many challenges in doing all of that, in terms of getting the right quality of feedstock, being able to run a plant efficiently, making sure that you can offtake, get sales for both the gas and the fertilizer. We were fortunate we went into the Horeca channel. And, you know, restaurants are terrific because they buy the gas, they need the gas every single day. Not like an industrial customer where he shuts the plant for 2 weeks for maintenance. That's very difficult if you've got a biogas plant and he might be buying a ton of gas, and what do you do with that gas when he's shut down? A restaurant's buying it every single day, and he buys more at weekends, and he buys more, ironically, at Christmas and New Year, because most people go out and celebrate New Year, just as we do in Europe. And there's a lot of food eaten, and therefore a lot of gas. So there's a lot of complexity in doing all of that. Then there, of course, is the ecosystem in which you work. We work with urban local bodies. And working with urban local bodies was difficult for us as a startup, because urban local bodies naturally want to work with companies that have big financial strength and are not going to go bust on them. So that proved to be a challenge early on in that side of it. And also making sure you can get good quality separated waste from an urban local body. As I say, we were fortunate in starting in Bangalore. Bangalore were one of the early pioneers in trying to implement the 2016 municipal solid waste rules. What that created, which I think could be a model for the rest of India, was they did focus on appointing specific vendors who picked up the waste from the bulk waste generators. So we work with two companies in Bangalore. One of them is Sudra Innovations, the other one is SARS, who specifically pick up separated organic waste from bulk waste generators. So with one of them, I built our largest plant, and he can therefore guarantee that I get 50 tons of good quality separated organic waste delivered to my plant every single day. And I think that's a model that we could easily do in the rest of India, because that sorts the separation of waste issue out from the get-go. And it's very easy for bulk waste generators to provide separated organic waste. It's much more difficult in a household, and we see that everywhere in the world. So those are just some of the challenges that we face.
Excellent, thank you so much, because I think you kind of, from a micro level, you've given us the challenges in terms of segregation, looking at composition, the mechanics of it, the continuity in terms of being supplied with the waste. Which actually automatically brings me to my next question to Gaurav, because it is where you just talked also about a state level intervention that has worked well, and it's good to get this from the ground. So I think my question to Gaurav is that Gaurav, MNRE has come up with some very strong policies in terms of the GOBARdhan and SATAT National Bioenergy Program. But in terms of implementation, as far as the states are concerned, there seems to be a gap in the scheme design and the ground reality, or maybe there is the need for something that bridges that gap. So maybe your thoughts in terms of what Kevin said as far as the micro level, the challenges that he faces, and from the policy perspective, what would be ideal model in terms of bridging, these challenges vis-a-vis the great policies that have been, rolled out.
Thank you, Pratna. Hope I am audible enough. Yeah. Before I take on your questions, I would actually thank CUW and specifically the team who has prepared this report. So all credit, I believe, goes to Priyanka, Sreshri, Adil, and the team who has actually worked and must have put in their tireless efforts in coming out with this report, actually. So all credit goes to them. And now it is on us who have to absorb this report and have to work on this, actually. This is more bigger responsibility on us in that case. So now coming to your question, Pratna. CBG per se, if we talk about as a sector, is not driven by one single ministry. So it has been like multiple ministries and departments are implementing and complementary initiatives related to the bioenergy, waste management, all those things are like coming in one single platform. So the idea and the thought process of the Government of India is, yes, to initiate and to tap the potential of a bioenergy at the grassroots, and how we wanted to bring it to the energy perspective, and how can it be utilized in the different sectors, be it for thermal, be it for power, be it for CBG, for the transport sector, and so on and so forth. So as like One of a major gap which I see from the holistic perspective, if I see from the implementation side, on the policy design and the on-ground implementation is the absence of a one single nodal ministry or a unified coordination mechanism for the CBG sector per se, if I'm talking. Because Government of India has coined very clearly that 5,000 CBG plants needs to be brought up to meet the requirement of 15 million metric ton of a CBG to meet the requirements at the national level. So if we have to do it, so a coordinated, a single window clearance has to be there. So for this, now I wanted to tell you, rather than having the efforts or the support from the different ministries or the departments, now the coordinated efforts will be, the complete CBG sector is now being transferred to MOPNG because they were the off-taker of the CBG. And once, because they are the off-takers, so anything and everything related with the CBG will now be dealt by the MOPNG in that case. So whatsoever the projects we have supported till now will carry on with from the MNRE support and all. But from now onwards, the MOPNG will be taking care of the complete the CBG sector in that case. In addition to this, at state level, I believe the key bottlenecks include adequate CBG evacuation infrastructure. Then you have a lack of supportive state level policies, uncertainty regarding the long-term feedstock availability. So to counter all these, primarily the areas wherein the state policies needs to be strengthened. So Government of India has recently announced a support under the Special Assistance to States for Capital Investment Scheme, which is also called as SASCI scheme. So this is somewhere of around like 3,000 crores, which has been allocated to incentivize states to formulate dedicated state CBG policies and strengthen enabling infrastructure related to the CBG sector per se. And at ground level implementation gaps, if you see, so it will actually be focusing on how the limited availability of quality pre-feasibility assessments, that will also be taken care by this under the SASCI support. And it will also support the inadequate the capacity building which was there earlier at the state level. This will also be supporting to strengthen the capacity building and skill development at the state level as well. In addition to this, from the MNRE perspective, if you see, we have BTDC centers, which is biogas development and training centers across India. There are 8 numbers of such centers, which were initially designed to support, to provide kind of the training for the actual grassroots populace, wherein you need to have a support on the masons, how to provide a skill training to them, to developers, for state as well. There is the training need was there. So that was the major idea because of which this biogas development training centers were created. Now, seeing the actual requirement at the grassroots, we are even evaluating whether we need to increase the number of such BTDCs at the different states. And in addition to having a dedicated BTDCs, we are also thinking of setting up or creating a center of excellences on bioenergy specifically, which will cater not only to the capacity building and training exercises also, it will also be supporting the research and development related to the region-specific technologies. So that is where the MNRE will actually be playing and providing support in coming days and all. So these COEs and along with the BTDCs to bridge the gap between the center and the stage will be focusing on by supporting on capacity building, technical handholding, innovation and R&D and technology development part, and standardizing the project development practices. So these are the major areas wherein the MNRE or the Government of India will actually be pushing and putting their efforts to bridge that gap between the center and state in that case. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, because I think you kind of answered the second question also that I was going to ask you in terms of the training in institutes and what is the capacity building that is that is required. But I think it's very interesting to see that you're also thinking about the state support in terms of financial assistance, and it'll be also, I think it'll be good for organizations like ours to see how we can help in the COE, in the COE kind of model that you're planning. So I think thank you very much for those comments. I will now move to the issue of finance. I know you touched on it from the Indian perspective, but I also wanted to have a global perspective from someone who's been working on development financing. And Liz, I think what I wanted to ask you is that when you look at waste management projects, they're usually, conceptualized as small and they're considered risky. So how does one actually, from a development finance perspective, look at making such projects bankable? And, is blended finance the answer, or is it about improving project design, institutional capacity, maybe something from your end? And happy for you to also touch upon some international experience.
Thank you so much, Pratana. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Just let me briefly introduce what is AFD, the French Development Agency. We're the development bank from the French government, working in India since 2008 to support globally any sustainable project looking for sustainable development goals. And very active in the urbanization, sustainable urbanization, whether this is from the urban mobility side, or water and sanitation, or solid waste. And here I will mention it. We've been financing solid waste management through cities program with MOHA and NIOA, and maybe I'll have the opportunity to talk about it later. And thanks again for CW for inviting us. We have a very successful partnership, exchanging ideas in a very vibrant way. So thanks a lot. Now coming back to what you're saying, I mean, from the financing point of view, what are the challenges? I would say that the challenge is, just as Kevin mentioned, but in a more, from my perspective, which is at a financial level, is to create the right contractual and financial ecosystem that provides investors, just like you, with the right long-term visibility and the confidence. Because what is difficult in this, which is very different from renewable energy. Renewable energy, you invest, you sell. This is just one step, but you need offtake. In that case, the issue is that the input is difficult, you need good quality, and the offtake is difficult because it's many users, whether this is transport or cooking for you. And if I build on the example of Île-de-France, which is Greater Paris region, it has taken them nearly 5 to 6 years to build that ecosystem, to go and see all the farmers, to go and see all the wastewater sludge producers, to be able to say, okay, I can, with confidence, provide an investor with this quantity of organic waste, good quality, and then so that this investor will invest, and very often it's private investment, and it's okay, but he needs a 15 years contract where he will be sure that he gets this input and someone will buy him this output. And then, so this coordination between different sectors that don't talk to each other at all, whether the transport, in Île-de-France, what they have done is that they've used this biogas for the transport sector, for CNG buses. So they had also to convince all the bus operators to invest in the buses, and then to talk to each other, to know what was the quality that was. What they did is that they did a lot of coordination, participation, I mean, and just setting the framework of a 15 years contractual ecosystem between all these different investors. And the second is that they themselves, they invested in a lot of infrastructure that seems not to be important, but that are important, like the fueling station for the buses, etc. So this approach as an ecosystem, as a coordination and ecosystem. And what you mentioned, what is the right nodal point? I believe that the state in India is probably the right point to have this local circular economy, because it makes no sense to have a national circular economy. By essence, circular economy is local, should be local, whether this is a big ULB like Bangalore, but whether otherwise it can be done, there can be some aggregation at state level is also good. What I have seen on the ground sometimes, so we discuss with 18 cities, a lot of them are T2 or T3 cities, to know, and they propose to us financing for big biogas. And I'm always starting saying that, are you sure you can provide these companies with enough organic waste? So as you mentioned, and as I think we will repeat that several times in the morning, the mother of all the battles is segregation. Bulk waste to generator, let's start with the easier, but then home segregation will be super important. Very often what I see on the ground is that we have a plan that is obviously over-designed, then the private sector will lose money because he just doesn't receive enough good quality organic waste. So again, building confidence and long-term visibility and investing in all the soft information, education, communication, so that home segregation is happening, so that there is both incentives and penalties for households and bulk waste generators for them to do the job. I don't know, you in the room, if you have 2 bins in your kitchen. Just ask yourself. I have 2 just because I want to educate my daughter, but then I'm giving this to someone that is putting all together. And I'm desperate about this. I just want to still educate my daughter, so I still have my 2 bins, but ask yourself whether this is okay or not, and that's really where we have to start with. Thank you. That's not very financial.
No, but I think it's very important because I think one of the barriers that we've identified is the whole issue of IEC and, how do we build awareness. And I think this room has a lot of people who have been working in this sector of waste management for a long, long time. And we've been dealing with the issue of segregation for quite a while now. And it is one of the biggest challenges. And how do we, take it to the next level, which is probably, I think, where the demand side is going to make some impact, because if you have more demand for organic waste and it becomes an economic resource, I think then you start looking at it that we do need to segregate and kind of bring that and make it more available. So so we had, as I said earlier, we had sent questions to our panelists, and we got a feedback from one of them that there are too many challenges and you need to talk about some opportunities. So I'm coming back to Kevin, who actually brought that up, and I'm going to now shift the conversation from challenges to opportunities and what we can actually do in this context. And I'd like to ask Kevin, who, as you know, and he mentioned it, that he's been working with ULBs in Karnataka and in Telangana, and he has identified an opportunity in terms of managing municipal solid waste with biomethanation. So I wanted to hear from him in terms of how this can be a big opportunity and how we could, look at it in terms of scale.
Yeah, the modern world now is as we all know, is we kind of eschew facts, and we want a narrative. Everything's about a narrative. Now, I think the narrative about biogas and waste management, that needs changing. First of all, I don't like the word biogas because I produce biomethane, and biomethane is a very different molecule from biogas. Biogas is a 20th century Indian idea, predominantly rural, and that worked because India is in a very unique situation. The very first biogas plant in the world was built in a leper colony in Maharashtra in 1857. So you, like yoga, gave biogas to the world. And you've all grown up with that word, or if it wasn't biogas, it was GOBARdhan. And that has an image in the head. And that image is small, old, smelly, doesn't work. And it's more than terminology, because biomethane is a 21st century molecule which can really make a critical difference to India's energy transformation. And what that narrative has done, sadly, not only in India, it's done it in my own country as well, it's allowed hydrogen to grab the narrative. Hydrogen has come in and said, hydrogen is a 21st century fuel. It requires completely new infrastructure, and politicians love nothing than talking about big, new, shiny infrastructure. So if you compare what India has done with hydrogen relative to what it's done with biomethane, and it's done something in both. But what it's done with hydrogen is declare a national mission. It's awarded a 9,000 crore budget. It's investing in early demonstration hydrogen plants, which will not make any money for the next 10 years. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-hydrogen. Hydrogen will be a fantastic fuel, but it's 10 years away. Biomethane is ready now. So I think we need a new narrative around our story. And actually, there's one presented by the Hormuz crisis. What we're actually doing here is not just selling a gas molecule and a fertilizer product. We're selling energy and soil resilience. Because if you think about a HoReCa customer, the only decision you had to think about in the last 20 years was, which distributor do I use? He never had to face the fact, well, I've got to shut the restaurant because I haven't got any supply. For a farmer, he's got a real problem with the level of soil organic carbon he's got. And if India doesn't do something about that in the next 20 years, they're not going to be able to grow any food. I actually think the soil crisis in India is a bigger issue than the fossil fuel crisis, because I think India will eventually solve the fossil fuel crisis, but the soil one needs immediate attention, and it's not getting anywhere near that attention. And a biomethane plant can solve both issues. It can provide a modern, low-carbon fuel to help India decarbonize. And yes, we're going to put it in transport. But if you look at LPG, there's a 3 million ton business in the commercial side of LPG that we could have started decarbonizing 5 years ago. We didn't, right? And we got an accident because we've only ever built 5 days storage of LPG in the country, which is why LPG had such a crisis very quickly when the Hormuz crisis. So we've not looking at the whole context of where this molecule could fit. And we only said, let's choose it as a drop-in fuel for CNG. The problem with that is, from a biomethane producer, is we've chosen the lowest price fossil fuel to price the biomethane. So it means that the other aspect of this is that CNG pricing in the country is actually somewhat suppressed because of its relationship to subsidized urea. Because 1/3 of the natural gas coming into India is to make urea, and urea is subsidized. So if you allow CNG to achieve a market price, you'll end up driving your subsidy bill up. So that's controlled, and I only get 85% of the CNG price under the SATAT scheme. The reality of that means it's not worth investing. Apart from all the other challenges, you can't get a return at 85% of the current CNG price. And nowhere else in the world are they doing that. They're pricing it versus what the molecule could cost. So I think we need a new narrative. But even regardless of all of that, this is a fantastic opportunity for India. You are blessed with having all the raw ingredients you need to be a world leader in biomethane. You will overtake the Germans, I think, in the next couple of years. Even though Germany has 9,000 biogas plants, it's only got 400 biomethane plants. We've got 200 biomethane plants up and running today and another 300 being planned. India could be the largest biomethane producer in the world because you have oodles of the very material that you need in order to make biomethane. You've got the 40 million tons of rice straw that we're burning every year, causing all the pollution. You've got the second largest sugar industry in the world. No one in the world is buying sugar, but sugar factories in India will become bioenergy centers because they're already making bioethanol from the molasses. The pressed mud coming from the sugar industry is a fantastic feedstock for biomethane. And from that, you can then do e-methanol down the road. So a sugar factory, and you've got the second largest sugar industry in the world, you can turn that into biofuel centers. So you've got a fantastic, and then we're talking about today. You've got a huge amount of municipal solid waste, and as the predictions are, AI is not going to change that. You can't outsource that problem. It's getting bigger. As you get wealthier, and you will, you've got the fastest growing economy in the world. It'll be growing 6 or 7% every year for the next 30 years. You're gonna get wealthier, and as you get wealthier, you'll follow what we do. You eat out of the home more, and you'll create more food waste. And as you see the predictions, there's a huge amount of food waste that you're going to get, which needs processing, and there is an answer. And what you also found out, only 4% of all that 60 million tons is today sent for biomethanization. 96% of it is either sent for landfill, or it's sent for composting. And I think we've got to be a lot more demonstrative. I don't think composting is the right answer at all, except for home use. Because if you compost, you're still releasing methane. So from a greenhouse gas point of view, composting is the wrong answer. But too many people in the waste management space, that's what they've grown up with, and they're passionate about it, because it is a solution. It doesn't make any comparison with worth of biomethanization. And yet the policies are equivocal about that. A bulk waste generator is encouraged to do either. In my view, you shouldn't. We should be mandating the bulk waste generators, give it to a dedicated vendor who has to guarantee that it will go to a scientific processing of that, which is not composting, it should be biomethanization. So it is a fantastic opportunity because you're blessed with the feedstock. The government is showing, has not done nothing. What it has done is been very good. And what I admire about the government from my interactions is they are willing to listen. They are willing to listen, they are listening to the industry, and they have made changes, even since we started, since 2018. We've introduced the MDA scheme to handle what we're going to do about our digestate slurry and our fermented organic manure. That's really helped plants both to dispose of what they've got, plus making the plants more economically viable versus that low price of gas. So the government is listening, it's trying to move forward, trying to develop the policies which it needs to do. So I commend it for that. I think we've got a long way to go because it is a terrific opportunity. Given you can see the crisis that we've now got, India is frankly in a very perilous position because it's fundamentally dependent on all its fossil fuels coming in from abroad and a big chunk of its urea. And therefore, it has to come with an alternative. And of course I'm biased, but I think biomethane, an organic fertilizer, is the answer for India because you've got the raw material, the technology is getting better, and I agree with what the CEW report, we've got to encourage people with make that technology to come to India and make that and build their technologies here in India and not imagine that we're going to buy expensive foreign technology and put it in here when if you do that and it breaks down, you have to wait for a week for someone to come in and fix it. You know, we've got to look at that. But as an opportunity, and I'm biased of course, but it's a fantastic opportunity and it's a fantastic opportunity for India in all sorts of ways because there's all the other benefits you do talk about, the jobs that you can create, which India desperately needs. You clean up all your cities with the waste. You stop that methane coming from landfills, and you create businesses that can be profitable and make life better for everyone in India. So I'm a big fan of it, even though I've struggled with it for 10 years. I still think it's a fantastic opportunity.
So you think we need mission biomethane? No. So I think, that's a very powerful statement. And of course, I hope we figure out a way to get there. But I think what you said on the technology bit, and I was actually going to ask Gaurav this question, that obviously the composition and type of waste that is generated in India and the conditions around it kind of create an opportunity from a local technology perspective, and Kevin just touched upon it. I wanted to ask you that, is there a way in which we can look at, the technology solutions around the issue of organic waste management, and how do we connect it? And I know we've been saying this, over and over again, that this issue requires multiple ministries, multiple departments, partnerships, but considering the fact that if we have to really scale, technology is going to play a large role, at the moment, to get foreign technology, is that the right answer, or are we looking at local technology and figuring out a way in how we can link this to the entire process of organic waste management?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because India, being an agrarian country, has got a variety of agriculture residue or the feedstocks, and it has got a different composition from region to region. For example, if we talk about paddy straw, Paddy straw in northern part of India is absolutely different than the paddy straw which is a southern part of India. So most of the people generally, if they talk about the potential of the agriculture residue or the biomass which is available in India, they only talk about what is the quantum of biomass which is available. I always say that in addition to the quantity of biomass which is available, we should also focus on what quality of a biomass is available. Because that will define and decide on what kind of a suitable technology will actually be needed in that particular area. And seeing the varied characteristics, climate conditions, decentralized waste ecosystem and all, we really need to look for adoption of a local realities rather than only direct replication of a foreign technology as such. Because it is like matchmaking of two different, you cannot put oranges with apples. It has to be designed or changed to the Indian conditions actually. So with this, what we actually look forward for is we need to develop or co-develop and co-create biogas technologies specifically suited for Indian communities and Indian conditions actually. And we have been doing several collaborative initiatives were actually taken due course of a time. And the government of India is also, because the waste energy crisis has also created a different thought process to the government of India as well, because we were actually calculating every 10,000 TPD of a CBG production, which is on the national level, it is able to go for around 13,000 crores of Indian rupee of import substitution. So that is the number on the import substitution side we are talking about. And in addition, we will be able to work on that, and we will be able to create, as Kevin has mentioned very clearly, that is the area, because bio-CNG and bioenergy is a base energy which creates the complete energy security in line actually. So with this, Government of India has understood the requirement not only at the urban areas also, we have understood the requirement at the grassroots also, then the villages also. Till now, the ministry, through ministry support and all, through different government channels and all, we have installed or implemented more than 5.1 million small biogas plants at the grassroots level, which now the government of India, as I mentioned earlier very clearly, they have understood the requirements even to strengthen the energy security at the village level. So we are coming up with a much larger scheme which will actually be supporting larger number of small biogas plants at the village level also. So in addition to this, the Government of India is also strengthening the platforms such as creating a portal or platforms like RE investment platforms in association with the Germany or Netherlands or different European countries also, wherein we will be actually bringing the technology, the expertise, the research, the finances, the investments, everything on one single platform, and we'll try to matchmake with the Indian, the developers, the Indian participants, so that whatever the cycle on the research and development side, if we see, although there is a specific focus on the R&D side, we are strengthening our the research base. We are having a dedicated research organizations who are working specifically for all these things for bioenergy sector. We have the BTDCs, as I mentioned. We are going ahead with the setting up new COEs on bioenergy. We are also like working on reducing the time for bringing in some good technologies which are actually suitable for Indian context and making changes in this in addition to what they are providing in that case. So that is where what we are actually looking for is technology transfer. We are strengthening on that side. Because the kind of a sector development, if we are seeing it from a different angle. So we are looking forward for indigenization of such technologies at the national level, joint ventures, collaborative R&D. That is the areas where the government of India is actually putting efforts and pushing hard in that case. Right.
Thank you, thank you. From what I understand, you're saying that we focus on technology transfer, but also look at indigenous in a manner. And the fact that you're looking at village level interventions kind of also look at, how you can mobilize local technology. I've been asked to speed up the conversation, but I still want to ask one more question and to Lisa, because I've been a huge fan of the cities program that AFD funds, and I've been very closely associated the City 1.0, and so and now I know that you've moved to 2.0, but I wanted to understand in terms of addressing the urban waste infrastructure issue, or even the entire waste management issue within the cities program. How is AFD trying to address probably the bottlenecks, whether in terms of instruments or in terms of loans, technical assistance? It'll be useful to know so that we can see how we could also look at similar models.
Thank you so much. I'll be brief. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present very briefly this cities program, which has been developed years ago, first for urban development with Ministry of Urban Affairs and National Institute of Urban Affairs, NIUA. And the ideas of that program is to, I would say there's three key points. And I think all of them are very relevant to what we said on solid waste management, at least. The first one is to combine the city level, the state level, and the national level. And to always have a policy that is having something to be done at each level and having them to discuss together. And I think that is critical also for solid waste management. The second thing that was in the DNA of this, that is still in the DNA, is to bring innovation. One of these I is about innovation, and we've discussed about technologies. I don't think that it is really difficult technologies that we need, but it needs adaptation. But then again, I think what you said, both of you, is that the beauty of India is that whatever you want to do, there is a critical size. You can find, even if the paddy straw is different from south to north, there's enough in the south, enough in the north. So I think that innovation can be brought because there is always that critical size of quantity or market that will be available. And I think that's why it will succeed. And the third point that we're trying to develop within the cities, so together with Muha and Anuya, is really peer-to-peer exchanges, meaning there are a lot of successful experience. When you talk about solid waste, everyone is talking about indoor, how indoor managed to have good home segregation, have this award on cleanliness for more than, 7 or 8 years. And these peer-to-peer things, I think it's again very important, because again, you are doing wonderful things in Karnataka and Telangana, so how this can be helped. So for the cities program, what we've been doing in this Team Europe approach, because this is co-financed by the German Development Bank, KfW, and by the EU, is to combine grants so that we can finance all that work about capitalization, peer-to-peer learnings, etc., and just loans when it comes to financing very clearly MRF, transfer station, whatever you need along the solid waste management. So I think the idea of challenging the cities and bringing them some support between cities from the states and from national level is very powerful. Now, just in terms of opportunity, just to conclude what I like, so I said this critical size, a lot of organic waste, a lot of agricultural waste, a lot of sludge. We didn't mention the link to the wastewater treatment plan. Now that a lot of wastewater treatment plants are being built, sludge is going to be, has to be handled. So usually it's handled at the station with this big biogas producers that can cover 100% of the cost, at least of the plant, but it can be more. What what I wanted to say in terms of opportunity is that you have a lot of existing program. And if I want just to make a parallel with what has been done for renewable energy, that was the previous things. For renewable energy, there has been a scheme, a national scheme for everything, for the rooftop, for the solar pump for agriculture, for a dozen of small things. It has been a specific mission so that to ensure that this is embedded in the design. So what we obviously need is the same, per ministry, per subsector, agriculture, wastewater, etc., to have the same kind of incentive, because when India starts to have a national policy, it is very powerful. I'm always very, very impressed by the power of implementation when it comes to real life. And just what I wanted to also, that what is specific here is that not only it is energy, but you mentioned the soil issue, but we should also talk about the air quality issue, because air quality is obviously something enormous. And if you manage to handle the rice straws, you will decrease a little bit of air quality. If you manage to transform all the taxi in Delhi with some low carbon or whatever, you will also improve the pollution. If you manage to have no burning at all of solid waste, you will manage air pollution. So it's really a win-win. And that's, I think, one of the biggest opportunity of that sector, is that it solves other issues as well.
Thank you. I think you just put the last word, because I'm very happy that the word air quality came into this panel discussion. But I think, this has been a very, very fruitful conversation. And interestingly, it's also automatically flown from the report, because we presented trajectories. But now we have certain good practices and case studies and opportunities which have been discussed by our panelists, and I think it's an opportunity for us to see how we can map it with our trajectories and see how we could build on it and maximize the opportunity. What has come out very strongly is the fact that the issue needs a local approach, and the state could be the instrument, because we had examples of states taking leadership roles in terms of how the issue has evolved. But we've also had very micro level interventions which could be successful. So I think at what level the localized approach happens is something that we'll obviously have to see in the days that come as this whole agenda evolves. But as Liz said, national missions are very, very productive, and subsectoral strategies are, if they evolve, will definitely give a push. So I think, on behalf of CW, I would like to thank our panelists for this very, very inspiring conversation, and for also giving us the inspiration to take ahead the work in terms of unlocking the organic waste circularity potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pura, and thank you to each of our respected panelists, Dr. Gaurav Mishra, Mr. Kevin Houston, and Ms. Lise Bruel. That was a truly stimulating conversation, rich with evidence and inspiring in the vision of what is possible. As we move towards the concluding segment of today's event, it is my privilege to warmly welcome Dr. Virendra Sharma, Member Technical, Commission for Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region and adjoining areas. We are honored to have him with us. Would now like to invite him to give the closing remarks to the audience.
So, thank you for this invitation, and first of all, apologies because I was supposed to be part of this diverse and engaging panel which Pratna just concluded, and I was actually late for it, so I couldn't really join that. But at least I could get the important messages that were coming from this panel. Now, in terms of, and also interesting to see that as the panel was completing its timeline, they also mentioned about the air quality issue. And perhaps since I was not there in the morning, I would just like to focus on, the role of the Commission for Air Quality Management and where we see this whole issue of circularity in terms of the organic waste. Now, I just wanted to give you a sort of a glimpse of what we are dealing with, at least in Delhi and NCR, where we, from an air quality perspective, I think we are looking at about 12% in summer and about 20% in winter contribution of PM 2.5. That is coming from the municipal solid waste burning, crop and biomass in all. But if we segregate only the municipal solid waste, it actually comes to about 5% in the particulate matter, which is of course quite a lot, given that the decentralized burning is happening at different places. Plus we also have the problem of legacy waste in most of this region, Delhi NCR. Now, Delhi itself, if you look at, there are so many initiatives that are being taken. Out of the total 13,000 tons per day, I think 40% is supposed to be biodegradable, 40% is recyclable, about 20% is inert. And that inert is the one that needs to go into the C&D waste and perhaps have a better collection center there. But if you look at the primary and secondary collection from households and almost 3,500 bulk waste generators, I know that after this session you are going to have a focused BWG session. We have about 816 transfer stations and about 50,000 Safai Karmcharis. The integration of rag pickers and kabadis, I would say, is marginal in the sense that about 6,000 are formally integrated, but we are seeing it as a supply chain rather than a value chain. I think if you look at the way the rag pickers and kabadis work, they work in a value chain way and they pick up relevant parts of the waste as they operate with that. And I think that integration is falling short. In terms of transportation and processing, we have about 124 decentralized composting plant, which is almost covering about 700 tons per day, and the material recovery facilities about 110 tons per day. That also includes the mobile transfer stations, about 138, and 155 refuse compactors. So if you look at this whole issue of primary, secondary collection and transportation, it is actually happening, but there are still gaps in that. And then we move to the next, which is treatment and disposal. And that's where I think the gaps become much evident. In terms of, we have the waste to energy plants, about 6,550 tons per day. The so-called landfills, whether sanitary or just dump sites, about 4,700 tons per day. We are talking about decentralized waste management and circularity initiatives. Different RWAs have taken up, almost 700 have been registered in Delhi. And the final part, in terms of processing, which was just being discussed in this panel, CBG and bio-CNG plants, about 9 are proposed, only 2 are operational. And then of course the RDF conversion into pellets, whether it's the torrefied or the non-torrefied pellets, there are these issues. So the the main point is that along with this huge infrastructure and the over-encompassing regulatory framework in terms of the SWM rules, which has now been modified for 2026, why are we still facing gaps and huge challenges? I think the first one is the processing gap itself. So about 30 to 35% of the mixed waste, unsegregated waste, which doesn't see any compaction or any source segregation, is a real problem. And that, brings back to the issue is what is happening at the household level, RW level, ward level and others, and where there is an evident gap. Of course, the gap itself starts from the households where, the unsegregated waste is a problem. Second issue is the informal sector integration. Now, this is another gap that I already mentioned, how we can ensure that the informal sector, which is already operating through GOBARdhan, is in fact, if you look at, one of the things that perhaps the panel did not mention is that India has been a progenitor in terms of recycling. And it's important to look at communities down on the ground who are actually doing this recycling. Today, I think the problem is in urban and suburban centers. This whole thing is now diminishing in the sense that the responsibility has been given to the government or the contractor to do this rather than individuals. So what was actually as a part of our ethos in terms of being progenitors in recycling, I think now it has been handed over to kabadis and rag pickers who are the ones who are actually facing it or are doing it just because they are dependent for their livelihoods and also doing it in a way which directly harms their health statistics. So that's an issue as far as the informal sector integration is concerned, a huge gap in trying to recognize what the informal sector does and then integrate it with the formal sector has been a challenge. Finally, I think monitoring, accountability and governance at the local level, because a lot of these subjects are going to be done at a local level, is a big issue, like the offtake of the C&D waste collection, the inert material that comes from the municipal solid waste. Is still a big challenge. Some government institutions are picking it up, others not. And then I want to highlight almost 165 lakh metric tons, the legacy waste. And the legacy waste in Delhi and NCR, where the biomining and remediation process has been very slow, and that is actually creating. Now, if you magnify this into the NCR areas, then of course whatever I was mentioning in terms of primary, secondary collection, transportation and disposal and processing, the capacities within the NCR are limited. Now, in this whole setup, how does the Commission look at it? Of course, we directly look at it from an air quality perspective, given that, the contribution of municipal solid waste burning in Delhi and NCR could be reaching 3 to 5% different times. And again, in NCR alone, I think about 600 to 700 tons per day is currently not being managed or burnt. And this, along with the legacy waste that we have, is also, we were hearing the positive side of methane, but we are also seeing the negative side of it, where, our dump sites are generating this methane, which is not being currently utilized. So CAQM has been looking at inter-agency collaboration and coordination, which is a big issue in terms of different roles being segregated for this. And under our Direction 91, we actually look at prevention and control of fires at sanitary landfill sites, dump sites, open MSW and biomass burning across the Delhi NCR. And again, now in terms of going ahead, we are looking at a centralized portal for Delhi and NCR to actually provide the regular data management strict enforcement and implementation of these action plans, again with the perspective of the air quality issues. However, we have a larger role to play because this also touches the biomass issue that was being discussed in the panel. And that is where I think focusing on longer term transition as far as the circularity in biomass is concerned is an important issue for us, given that, you know, we are also dealing with all the three states, Punjab, Haryana and UP, at least in the NCR and the otherwise, which are generating the paddy biomass and managing that. So overall, what I would say is that CAQM views organic waste circularity as a critical upstream intervention. And of course, it can be approached from a sustainable air quality management issue, but what is much more important is scientific processing and utilization of the organic waste into compost. Of course, I would still say that decentralization, composting is important, but then moving ahead to bio-CNG, biofuels, and other energy and value-added products. For example, I was seeing in the paddy biomass space, what is really, or the RDF space, what is really happening is that pellets, non-torrefied pellets are being set up and they are allowed to be burnt in power plants and other areas. Now, of course, the stress is that, you know, if the biomass is burning, that is also contributing to further air quality. So how we can move from non-torrefied to torrefaction, which then allows the overall circularity principle, and which at least pushes the generation of syngas, biobitumen and other bioproducts which are critical for us at this time when we are actually facing a big energy scarcity and a vulnerability. So what I would, given that, I have not been part of the main panel where I could have actually contributed much more, I just wanted to, highlight that CAQM is directly working with a lot of these agencies and would want to ensure that there is better disaggregation in terms of, the specific components of waste, where exactly the gaps are happening, and also ensure that there is better monitoring, implementation, as well as enforcement of the existing regulatory framework to avoid the municipal solid waste burning or biomass burning, and pushing more towards the circularity. In fact, if you look at the paddy biomass, again, the work that is being done in terms of pushing brick kilns, in terms of pushing industries in Punjab, and in terms of pushing the whole generation of torrefaction in pelletization, has been a very successful outcome in the last 2 or 3 years, with almost 120 plants being set up in Punjab and Haryana. But then, on the other hand, the funding that could have, or that is already going from MNRE and the other schemes for bio-CNG has been a partial success, in the sense that it is not really taken up because of various reasons that the farmers have, reservations have, and that is something that we are also pushing along with the government of Punjab, Haryana and UP. So certainly what I would say is that though our whole role is peripheral in terms of looking more at the air quality issues, but the whole circularity issue is central to what CAQM does and is going to push for in terms of the various schemes that we operate in Delhi NCR, as well as in the adjoining areas, which includes Punjab and the thermal power plants in the 300 kilometers range of Delhi. So I'll stop there and again apologize for missing the interesting panel that Pratna and the others joined. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite all the authors of the report that was launched today and Pratna to the stage for a photo with the report with sir. Yeah.
Sir, we missed you. I thought you were not coming, because I would have not started.
Because there was a family meeting.
Yes.
I couldn't just leave.
You can announce the lunch. This was a very important photo because it connects circularity to air quality.
Thank you, everyone. As we conclude the session today, I would now like to invite Rahul Das, research analyst from the Clean Air team at the Council, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Dear speakers, guests and colleagues, on behalf of the Council, I extend our sincere gratitude to everyone who made today possible. First and foremost, I would like to thank Minister Sirsa. It was very unfortunate that he couldn't join us here today, but very thoughtful of him to send us an acknowledgement letter a while ago. We are very grateful to Sir PC Meena from the MCD, Dr. Alexander Fisher from GIZ, and Dr. Virendra Sharma from CAQM for the valuable perspectives shared during the address. A special thanks to all our panelists, Mr. Kevin Houston, Dr. Gaurav Mishra, and Ms. Lise Bruel for the insightful discussions that happened during the panel. Thank you to Ms. Pratna and Ms. Priyanka for anchoring the sessions. I would also like to take a few names and thank them from the team who have put in extended effort for this particular event. Shrishti, Rochishnu, Viraj, Alankrita, Adil, Radhika, Meet, Twinkle, Devina, Yadu, and Iris. Special thanks also to the outreach team from CEW, the IT team, as well as the admin team for providing all logistical support. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants, policymakers, urban local bodies, bulk waste generators, service providers, and civil society organization. Thank you for your time and effort to join us today. We look forward to a continued collaboration in this format and hope that we successfully move from dialogue to implementation. Thank you.
For the delay in today's session, we'll now break for the networking lunch, and it's served outside the ballroom. We request all the participants who are going to join us for the stakeholder consultation on bulk waste generators to kindly reassemble as we start the closed door consultation by 2:15. Thank you, everyone.